I'm Michael Engelmeyer.
I'm Max Gibson.
I'm Jacob Karsten.
I'm Braden Ron.
And I'm Mason Ramel. Space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the Starship Enterprise. Its 5-year mission: to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilizations, and to boldly go where no man has gone before.
You've probably all heard these lines before, and it's true. Space is the least explored place that we know of. According to Clara Moskowitz, an assistant managing editor and writer for Space for the past 8 years, in her article, What's 96% of the Universe Made Out of? Astronomers Don't Know, published in 2011, humans can only see and interact with 4% of the total universe.
Man has always been fascinated with space, but to try and reach it had been an unimaginable prospect. That is, until we did.
There are many important events in the exploration of space.
First, we'll talk about the Sputnik satellites. Second, the first man in space, Yuri Gagarin. Third, the Apollo 11 moon landing. Fourth, the International Space Station. And finally, the Mars Pathfinder mission.
Let's start by talking about Sputnik 1 and 2 satellites.
Steve Garber, a policy analyst for NASA's History Division, stated on the NASA website in the article Sputnik and the Dawn of the Space Age, published in 2007, that the USSR's Sputnik satellite program served as humanity's first exploratory steps in the exploration of space. Sputnik was the first successful artificial satellite to be launched in orbit around Earth in 1957.
Sputnik's launch was initiated by the International Council of Scientific Unions meeting in 1952. This meeting asked the world governments to launch satellites by the years 1957.
This was because, during those years, solar activity was expected to be at a high, and satellites in space could collect a lot more accurate data than instruments on the ground could. In 1955, the United States attempted to launch Project Vanguard, but it failed, and the Soviets did it much better.
The Sputnik 1 was the first ever successful artificial satellite to be launched into orbit. It was designed, developed, and deployed by Roskosmos, the Russian equivalent to NASA. It weighed nearly 200 pounds, significantly heavier than the American prototype. It took Sputnik 98 minutes to complete one orbit around the Earth.
In the article Sputnik 1957, published by the U.S. State Department in 2017, stated that the Sputnik 1 satellite shocked the United States when it launched in 1957. The perceived distance between the U.S. and USSR's technology at the time prompted the United States government to form the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, or for people who don't want to say aeronautics all the time, NASA.
Sputnik 2 was the second satellite in the Sputnik series and served as another huge technological advancement.
Sputnik 2 carried the first living thing into space, a dog named Laika. Unfortunately, the Soviet Union did not have the ability to retrieve Laika, so the Sputnik 2 satellite also became her tomb. This ignited the space race between the Soviet Union and the United States. Soon after, the United States would start their mission, the Explore program. This soon would surpass the successes of the Sputnik series.
Now that we have discussed the Sputnik series of satellites, we will continue to discuss Yuri Gagarin.
Yuri Gagarin was the first man to enter space and subsequently orbit the Earth. He went up into space on April 12, 1961. Now, before he was a cosmonaut, he was a pilot in the Soviet Air Force. Out of the 20 specially selected candidates, Yuri was chosen for this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
Yuri Gagarin was aboard the Vostok 3KA-3 spacecraft that launched into the orbit. Jennifer Rosenberg, historian and writer for 22 years, wrote Biography of Yuri Gagarin, the First Man in Space, published in 2019. which said that the Vostok 3KA-3 spacecraft was in Earth's orbit for at least 108 minutes. Now, in this day and age, that doesn't sound that impressive, but back then, that was an amazing achievement.
Yuri Gagarin's spaceship was not able to land safely, so Yuri Gagarin was forced to parachute to the Earth safely.
Philip Wilkins, a director of publication for the European Space Agency, in the article Yuri Gagarin, published in 2011, stated, "After his successful mission, Yuri Gagarin became a celebrity in the Soviet Union and across the world. Even though he only ever went into space once, he would use the experience and knowledge he gained to train future cosmonauts to go on the same missions he had."
Like Sputnik, this put the Soviet Union ahead of the United States in the space race.
Before he went up into space, he said, to be the first to enter the cosmos, to engage single-handedly in an unprecedented duel with nature, could anyone dream of anything greater than that?
There was great controversy over Yuri Gagarin's early death. He was on a routine flight on the MiG-15 fighter jet. It crashed and he died at age 34.
Many wondered why such an experienced pilot could die in such mundane circumstances. In 2013, Alex Leonov, the first man to do a spacewalk, another plane also caused his crash.
Now that we've talked about Yuri Gagarin, we will talk about the Apollo 11 moon landing.
The Apollo 11 moon landing served as humanity's